I gave her everything: love, loyalty, a life of power and privilege. And still, she tried to ruin me at our daughter's wedding. What she didn't know was, I had seen it all coming. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to Shadowed Tales, where every truth eventually comes to light. The sleek black Mercedes pulled up in front of Trinity Hall, just as the morning sun caught its polished surface. As the door opened, I stepped out slowly, adjusting my navy Brioni suit, careful not to betray the storm brewing inside me. My name is Marcus Stravik. For over 2 decades, I've been one of the most formidable district prosecutors in the state. On the surface, I'm a man of the law. Beneath that surface, let's just say, the truth is more complicated. Today, of all days, was my daughter's wedding. Amelia, my pride, my only child, the one person I've ever truly loved. I spared no expense. The cathedral was lined with white roses and lilies. Everyone who mattered was there: judges, senators, CEOs, friends, enemies pretending to be friends. And her, my wife, Celeste. Celeste stood across the hall, radiant at 49, her dark hair elegantly pinned, emerald dress hugging every curve. She still looked like the woman I had fallen for. But she wasn't, not anymore. 3 months ago, I learned the truth. She was cheating on me, not just with anyone, with Dr. Adrian Mercer, a neurosurgeon known more for charm than ethics. I could have forgiven the affair. Maybe. But what cut deepest was the plan, the conspiracy, the betrayal. They were going to use my daughter's wedding, our daughter's wedding, to bring me down, publicly, permanently. Celeste had been whispering secrets to Adrian, and Adrian had been leaking them to his brother, a federal agent. They had built a case. They thought they were smart. They had no idea. Dad. I turned. There was Amelia in her wedding gown, her eyes wide, nervous. She whispered, "We need to talk." We stepped into a small chamber off the main hall. She was shaking. They approached Travis, she said. Her fiancé? Young attorney. Just made partner under my mentorship. Mom and Adrian, they tried to turn him against you. They're planning to expose everything tonight. Offshore accounts. Your old connections to the Vesnick family. I stared into her eyes. She knew. She knew everything. What did Travis say? He's with us. He told me everything. We've already changed the venue, the guest list, the security. I smiled, proud, in a way only a father can be. That's my girl. The ceremony was flawless. Amelia walked down the aisle like royalty. Travis beamed with the kind of controlled joy that only comes from understanding the stakes. I watched from the front pew, keeping my expression calm. My wife sat beside me, her smile polished. But her eyes were restless. They thought they were in control. The reception was held at the newly completed Alden Crest Hotel, one of the most secure venues in the city. Not that anyone noticed. They were too busy sipping champagne, praising the decor, and fawning over how graceful the bride looked. I kept my distance. Until it was time. Celeste walked up to the microphone during the toasts, glass raised. "If I may," she began, her voice smooth. "Before we continue this beautiful evening, there's something the guests deserve to know." Just as planned. The doors clicked shut behind her. Locks engaged. My private team, posing as hotel staff, took up positions at every exit. Celeste paused. Adrian appeared beside her, holding a manila envelope. It was meant to be dramatic. It was meant to be the moment they exposed me. Adrian began. "For too long, Marcus Stravik has hidden behind his badge." I stepped forward, placing a hand on Amelia's shoulder as she sat down. "I'd be very careful what you say next, Doctor," I said calmly. "Especially when you're surrounded by this many witnesses." Adrian faltered. Celeste blinked, confused. They were expecting backup. An FBI raid, led by Adrian's brother, Agent Nolan Mercer. But that was never going to happen. I took out my phone, held it up. "Celeste," I said, "check the news." She pulled out her phone with trembling hands. The headline was already waiting for her. "Federal agent arrested in widespread corruption probe." And below it, a photo of Agent Mercer in handcuffs. Adrian looked like he might faint. "I didn't do anything to your brother," I said. "He did it to himself. The files he stole, the ones you thought would expose me, they were altered. The originals prove he was taking bribes, from the Vesniks, from others, enough to bury him for decades." I turned to the guests. "I apologize for the disruption. Unfortunately, when you fight corruption for as long as I have, sometimes it follows you home." Celeste's voice broke through the silence. "You think you've won? You think this makes you untouchable?" "No," I said, turning to her. "Just prepared." With a click of a remote, screens descended from the ceiling. Footage played. Celeste and Adrian in a hotel room, plotting. Every detail. How they'd split my assets. How they'd frame me. Adrian reached for the envelope, as if it could still change something. But the security team was already moving. "Take them to the vault," I said quietly. "Let's finish this. Properly." The vault beneath the Alden crest was built during Prohibition. Solid steel, now converted into a private negotiation chamber. Celeste sat across from me, pale. Adrian next to her, sweating. "You turned your daughter's wedding into a trap," she said. "No," I replied. "You did. I just set the terms." I slid the papers across the table. "Divorce. You waive all claims to my estate. You get $5 million, a house in Lake Como, and you never contact Amelia again. And if I don't sign?" I smiled, slow and cold. "Then I release everything. The affair, the charity fraud, the stolen art, the offshore accounts, the cocaine." Adrian turned toward her, stunned. "What charity fraud?" Celeste didn't answer. She couldn't. "You stole nearly $8 million from your own cancer foundation," I said. "I kept the truth from Amelia to spare her, but don't mistake that for weakness." I placed a USB drive on the table. "It's all here. Records, witness statements. Your accountant flipped. He's got immunity." Adrian buried his face in his hands. "I'm not signing anything," he muttered. I opened a laptop. The screen came alive with a hospital security feed. An elderly man in a gown looked up. "Judge Ellison, dying of cancer." "He signed a warrant this morning. Your house and office were searched. They found everything, including records from the Brantfield surgery you botched while high on benzodiazepines." Adrian slumped in his seat. Resign. Confess to medical fraud. Leave the country. Or face prison. Slowly, reluctantly, they signed. Back upstairs, the music resumed. Guests awkwardly tried to enjoy the evening again. Amelia and Travis danced as if nothing had happened. "Will they leave?" Travis asked softly. "They're already on their way," Amelia said. "They don't have a choice." "You're sure about this path?" She looked over at me. "I chose my father. That's the path." Later that night, after the guests were gone and Amelia and Travis had left for their honeymoon, I stood in my study alone. 2 screens glowed on my laptop. One showed Celeste boarding a private jet to Geneva. The other, Adrian stepping onto a flight to Bahrain. My phone buzzed. From Amelia. "Thank you. For everything." I poured myself a glass of vintage scotch and raised it in a quiet toast. To power. To family. To the war already won. They tried to destroy me. They forgot who I was. Marcus Stravik doesn't lose. Not to enemies. And never to traitors. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to subscribe to Shadowed Tales. Every story hides a deeper truth.